This story starts in 5th edition of D&D. And we're back in the party where Logan is playing a rabbit folk wizard lich. He had transformed into a lich because he got the Book of Vile Darkness, and that's just who he was.
Yeah.
So we've been playing the game for about 8 months, and the adventure started where the party went into a city. They get this quest that there's like a dungeon, and there's like ghosts in the dungeon. They have to go kill them. So they go to the dungeon, they kill the ghosts and the wraith, and while they're there, there's a sudden plot twist. They find a long-lost friend there who's dead. And they're like, oh no, what are we going to do?
We all loved him so much. We had to jump through as many hoops as it took to get Kevin.
So they, at the end of the dungeon, they got a cubic gate. And they went through the cubic gate, and it only went to Isgard. So they went to Isgard, which was like the home of like Nordic heroes and things like that. And they pop in there, and they find this huge dining table with tons of people. But the catch here is that every person has this silver string leading out to the doorway. And I'm like, yeah, and there's all these people there.
Bunch of strings.
And Logan's character, Ladro, just says, I'm gonna nibble on a fat Norse guy.
I said I specifically wanted to find the fattest, just most Nordic guy there. I was just gonna like nibble on his string, see what the hell happened.
And he's gone. And they're just like, oh,
I
okay,
broke the string.
Weird. So he's just disappeared. Eventually they find their long-lost friend, they cut the string, and then they all go back through the cubic gate, they appear, and they're all there, their long-lost friend is there, they're all happy, and then behind them, screaming, is a fat Norseman, who's just screaming in ancient Celtic language. So like the wizard casts speak like tongues or whatever, and they finally get him to speak, and he screams, I am Fahall, the Norse warrior! This dude's like 100, 200 years old, and they just brought him back to life. So the party just doesn't really care. They're just walking through the town, heading back. He's screaming about ancient battles and glory. But they go back to the town, and they go to the king, and they find out that the king is on his...
We lost Fahall when we went to the king. He just immediately demanded that he had to go to the tavern, so he was gone.
So he's not with the party. Yeah. So they go to the king, and the king's on his deathbed, and they're like, oh man. And he has 2 brothers who... he has two sons who are to be his heir, but he can't choose between the two. They're both twins, so they both want to be king because that's how it works.
Yeah.
So and they both have a rightful heir essentially. Yeah. So I guess it could have been solved in an easier way, but regardless, this is D&D and this is how it went down. So
it has to be complicated. So with that party that we had, we do everything.
The party had to pretty much decide who was going to be the king. So they decided to split up, and by split up, I mean the entire party went to one son, and Ladro by himself went to the other son. So the party goes to the other son, and they go to him, and they convince him.
No, he wanted to be like a traveling bard. He didn't actually want to be king, but I think in retrospect, he was a lot more fit to be king.
He was honorable. He was going to do his duty. Yeah. Yes, exactly. But the
party's like, do what you want, man.
And so the party successfully convinces him to be a traveling bard. So he leaves the town. And he's like, good, I'm going to do whatever I want.
And the moment that they realized what they had done, they're like, wait.
Yeah. So cut to Ladro, who goes to the other guy. Follows him around all day until he decides to take
I learned that this son was like not a good person. He was not fit to be king. He was kind of a piece of shit. He was a little pretentious, and Ladro's like, nope.
So he follows him around all day until he decides to use the loo. And so Ladro, you were a lich at the point, and you had to get souls like every so often to retain your lichdom.
Once every 2 days.
Yeah, exactly. So you go in there. And back when we were using Polymorph incorrectly, the way
that we used Polymorph in 3.5, and I'm not sure that...
No, this was still 5th edition.
This was 5th edition. It was so much fun. But, like, we thought that with Polymorph, you couldn't just be beasts, you could be anything from the monster manual under the level restriction. So I was like, I know, I'll true Polymorph, or not, I think it was just basic Polymorph him into...
a gibbering mouther. I think
it was either a gibbering mouther or like an eber.
No, it was a shambling mound.
It was something disgusting.
Something like it was just a pile of flesh. Yeah. And while he's pooping, and transforms him into that, And
I just stabbed him a bunch of times.
and you just go in there
until he
and
died.
you just killed him and he's dead. And I'm like, oh my god!
And we didn't use polymorph to the way, I think it might have been like I had a scroll of true polymorph, but he stayed that rotten pile of flesh when he died. So it was like, evidence!
So the guards come over and they're like, hey, what just happened in there, you stupid rabbit? And he gets like a 26 on his persuasion saying like, that monster killed him.
That thing came in while he was pooping and ate him, and I came in and I was like, oh my god!
So now we have an alibi. The party comes together and they're like, we got rid of the other guy, and Ladder's like, me too. So they're both dead. They're both gone. They can't get the bard guy back because he's disappeared. So they go back to the king, and he's dead.
The king died of like his ailment or old age.
Yeah. So there's no ruler, and there's a council who has to decide who's gonna be the new ruler.
And they're all being like a bunch of pretentious people, just like the guy that I killed. Was like, I believe I should be king and raise taxes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the party's in there, and they're all arguing about who's going to be king. And I think
I want to throw in there just that this was like an isolated island kingdom. It was really hard to get to, so none of us wanted to really have royalty.
yeah,
here.
exactly.
Like we couldn't do anything with it.
So the door busts open, and none other than Fahall comes in, and he stands on the table and he says, "I will be the king of this place." And
all of us were just like, there you go.
and immediately one council member is just like, I don't think this man should be king. And Fahall decapitates him.
Fahall had this ancient, super ancient Nordic axe, slips it out, one swing.
And all the council just goes, yeah, okay, this guy can be king, this guy can be king.
I don't want to die.
And Fahall's like, I am the king of this place. And the party's like, yeah, this is a good idea.
Let's go.
They got a boat and they left and they solved the problems of that city. The ancient man who was like 200 years out of his body became king of that island.
I think we still play in that universe. That's the same universe as the majority of our stuff takes place. And it's untouched by all the horrible events that are happening.
Yeah.
Like politics are going crazy everywhere. Fahall still is king.
Yep.